Would you believe me if I told you there's a house in Rose Park that's in the Guinness Book of World Records for only being 9 feet wide? And honestly, it tells you everything you need to know about the neighborhood. It's quirky, it's cool, and it's filled with character. So that is why today we are actually walking through Rose Park to see what makes it different. Not only the community that shows up, but the trade-offs that a lot of times buyers don't see coming. Let's get into it. Whoosh. All right, so let's talk about what Rose Park actually is, because I think a lot of people hear the name or I've heard the name, but don't always really know because it's like such a small pocket. Rose Park has about 500 craftsman bungalows built in the early 1900s. It's a historic neighborhood that feels a lot different than a lot of different parts of Long Beach. And you kind of feel that once you start walking around here. Rose Park sits just east of downtown, and it gets its name from iconic Circle Green Space, which we're at right now. It's about a little less than an acre. It was donated in the early 1900s. To be quite honest with you, I would say this park is really the heart of the neighborhood, literally, because this is where the community really comes together. They hold a lot of events here. You'll see people walking back and forth. You got 10th Street to the north, you got 4th Street just south, Cherry on the west side, Redondo on the east. And it's a very compact area, but it packs a lot of punch, I guess you can say. Rose Park, again, is different than Rose Park South. So they sit side by side, and really kind of what sets the vibe off here, if you just kind of look around, is the architecture. When you walk around and look at the homes, there's Spanish, there's Craftsman, Colonial Revival. There's some multifamily, which is cool to kind of have blended into the vibe that kind of lends itself to what is city living while also kind of still being tucked into a neighborhood. That's the vibe. That's why people like it. The streets are tree lined. The feeling is very walkable. And actually, I do want to show you guys also what is available in Rose Park right now, because I do think it's a perfect example of what I've been talking about. So I just listed this 2-bed, 2-bath condo at 2546 East 10th Street. And in a second, we're gonna go walk through the unit so you can kind of see exactly what you're getting at this price point, which truthfully is, I think, the best value in the city right now. This is why I think this property is interesting, because number one, it's in a historic building with 4 units. You're getting all this character, you're getting walkability, you got Wood Coffee literally steps away. You got a barbershop right there too. You're walkable, retro row, and you have the beach also, it's not too far. But this is all in a condo format. And not to mention, it's some of the lowest HOA in all the city, fully turnkey property, which means you're not dealing with all the hassles that come with maybe some older buildings that you have to consider between interior maintenance, foundation work, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, so if you want the Rose Park lifestyle without the full weight of maintaining the historic single family home nature, this is how you do it in the middle of everything you want to be at a very affordable price point. Still in the neighborhood, still in the community, but you get to do everything that you would want to get from this part of Long Beach. So let's go toward the unit. Also, shout out to Marissa and Marco from Stage Designs. Not only are they some of the best to do it, but they're also Long Beach homegrown. They are people who live here and they serve Long Beach, so shout out to them. They killed it with that. Anyways, if you like the unit and you're interested, my contact info is in the description below. I'd be happy to help you understand what else that you need to know about the property. Let's get back into it. So Rose Park has that thing, that vibe that you just can't manufacture, because it's quirky, it has character. Rose Park is the home of the skinny house. It's a home that actually is in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the skinniest house at 9 feet long. You saw it at the intro of this video. So now on the south side of the neighborhood, Rose Park runs right into 4th Street, which people here call Retro Row. The cool thing that you should know about that is that Retro Row is essentially a 3-block stretch with vintage shops, these antique stores, restaurants, coffee spots, everything that you would just kind of want in close proximity. And also you got the art theater right there. It's a restored, single screen movie house. It's also a designated landmark. So you can really just see how that comes across in the fabric of the community and everything that surrounds it. This is what, makes, again, this place unique. So if you're into walkability, if you're into character that you can't just fabricate, story that's history, if that's what matters to you, then Rose Park definitely checks those boxes. It's not trying to be a beach neighborhood, but it is still somewhat walkable to the beach, actually. I was just talking to a younger guy who just passed through here and was talking about how he likes to walk to the beach from here. It's distinct in its personality, but it serves a lot of interesting purposes in terms of what it accomplishes for the person that wants to live here. It's a mix of historical kind of character, but urban convenience, right? If I were to compare it to a neighborhood in LA, I would say like an Echo Park or Silver Lake. So community-focused neighborhood pride. And naturally, I would say that leads us into the cost and how that kind of flows into how the market behaves. So the market here, you can expect homes, at least as of right now, to trade in around 40 plus days. That really depends on property type as well, but that's the Rose Park reality. It's like everything is, of course, constrained by supply and demand, but I think the big reason why that is the current inventory. It just stays low for most of the time, which means that you don't typically have a lot of options to choose from all at once. Over the last 12 months or so, I'd say the median price has been anywhere between $500,000 to just around $1 million. So there's a swing from month to month just because, like I said, the inventory is not like too big. With single family homes, on the other hand, we're talking about hovering around $1 million. So there really is a wide spread here. And again, this place is for the person who knows exactly what they're looking for. Specifically, if you really appreciate the charm of a historic craftsman bungalow and so on. Now, when it comes to the size, I would say they're on the more modest side, anywhere between 900 to 1,500 square feet. And that makes sense when you remember that these homes were built in the early 1900s when homes and lots were really just designed differently. The needs looked a little bit different also back then. These are homes with, in a lot of instances now, over 100 years of history. And that's really where the character comes in. But with that, it also means that there's maintenance to really consider too. I would say that's probably the biggest thing to consider if you're someone who's looking at these historic homes. And speaking of maintenance, I think there is a financial incentive that we'll talk about a little bit later that really changes how you should think about owning an older home like this. Again, depending on the property type, how it's presented, how it's priced, this could be pretty competitive. I think the kiss of death, especially here, if you don't market properly and if you don't price well, then a property will not go. Because we're also talking about something that's a little bit more specific. Not everyone's looking for a historic home. If you're shopping in this price range and you want character and walkability, this is definitely the place that you want to keep on your radar. There are multiple historic districts in Long Beach. There are many, but this is definitely one of the more prominent, and it stands out for some of the reasons that we talked about. You just need to be ready to move when the right one comes up, because inventory, like we said, doesn't hang around or come on that often either. So once you understand that pace, when you kind of understand what the nature of the opportunities are, then you can start thinking a little bit more strategically about the things that you want to be a part of your everyday lifestyle, which is what we can talk about next. So I think we talked enough about the walkability, charm and all that. You get that idea. But I think another big standout is the community itself. I don't think people talk about that enough. This is really a place where people come together. I spoke to a couple people who have walked by, and that's the running theme. They have a Rose Park Run Club that brings people together. They have the Rose Park Neighborhood Association, puts on events during the holidays at the park. They have Halloween caroling, which is new to me. Other programming projects that really help beautify the area, all centered around people who want to live here, who love living here. They're proud to be a part of this community. And I really think this community is like a quintessential representation of Long Beach. It's authentically community driven, it's electric, it just has character that can't be bought. But I think if walkability, character, community involvement, and central location are all stuff that's important to you, I think Rose Park checks all the boxes pretty naturally. I will say, if there is something that also is something you should consider, maybe on the opposite side, it is also kind of like in the heart of the city, right? So sometimes it can feel like it could be some sketchiness here and there, just by virtue of being interconnected as a part of a big city. But I think all in all, that's minor consideration, in my opinion, as it relates to what really you get here. So yeah, I think it really does hit a lot of boxes. So if you understand all of those factors and you're coming in eyes wide open, then I think it'll lead you to the next step to know exactly what you're getting. Let's talk about some of the trade-offs that people don't always expect or consider, because this is usually what people will realize after they've already fallen in love with the place. But let's try to see if we can unpack some of it right now. The truth, as we've talked about, is thinking about, yes, you getting a historic home with character, but then the home is older. So of course, with that comes some realities. There's oftentimes deferred maintenance that you have to be conscious of. Now, there are some of these historic homes that are very well kept, and then others that will need a lot of work. So if it's well maintained, then maybe not as much of a consideration. But if not, that's something that you should maybe hold some money aside for or expect down as time goes on. The other thing that comes with kind of being in the heart of it all is that it's gonna feel a little bit more dense. There's not gonna always be great parking. There are some homes that actually don't even have a garage, and then some with a shorter driveways, which means that some homes will be subject to street parking. But many of them have some option, but just if you need more, it's just another thing to consider before you jump into it. There is a density component to being in an urban neighborhood is giving you city living. That's just something that comes with it. So that's just the reality of one of the trade-offs. You're getting walkability, you're getting charm, you're getting character, but you're also getting parking challenges, maintenance costs, and the density and everything that comes with that. If that is a balance that works for you, at least you're going in eyes wide open. That's what I always tell my people that I work with, is that you just want to know going in exactly what you're getting, and then you can figure out what you want to do from there. And if that doesn't work, then of course there are 70 Long Beach neighborhoods that might make more sense. This is about understanding why Rose Park still gets attention, but I think still deserves way more, honestly. Even with some of these things, I know that it is the perfect sweet spot for a lot of folks. Honestly, I feel like I've said what I need to say. If you want to hear me rattle more information off around this, we can talk about it. In fact, you can actually email me at tedrosteam@gmail.com or text me at 562-554-7534. But man, I think at large, Rose Park just has a lot to offer. We talked about the character, the walkability, the charm, people. I think community, is the one thing here that really comes across. You can't replicate that. You can't just create that out of thin air. This is ingrained in this community, and that's part of what you're getting as part of this lifestyle, which I think is probably the best part. I've also linked my video to the biggest mistake people make when they're choosing a neighborhood in Long Beach, which has been pretty helpful for a lot of people. I also have a ranking if you're also new to Long Beach, you want to see that. Thank you for riding with us. I appreciate you guys dearly, because if you're coming here, it's because you want to know everything that you need to know about all things LA, Long Beach, the lifestyle in between, as we help you believe for more. Peace.